Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about alcohol today for today's journal. And I've talked about alcohol at length before. Journal 25, I think it was, the entire thing was just about alcohol and nothing else. And this one is kind of that. So I was asked recently-ish, what's your favorite drink? Directed at me. And the answer, I get that question sometimes. Once in a while, there's a couple of different versions of the question. And I say something different. My response is different every single time. I'll talk about that in the actual journal, so I don't need to expand here. But my most recent response feels like my coda. It feels like the note I'm going to end on. And so I'll tell that story here. This is a really long one. Very recently in one of my journals, it's like, this is the longest one I've ever written. This one is longer, and I don't think I'm going to ever top it. The original title of this one was 999 Words on the Wall. I didn't actually count the words, but it's probably really close to that. That was a working title. I did change it. I will read it now. And the next one, to balance it, I will make the shortest one I've ever done. Uh, Here. Journal 72, Saturday, March 9th, 2024. Oh, and this is going to be really hard to read, as you can tell. So bear with me. I'll do my best to read it. Not like emotionally hard to read. It's going to be literally physically difficult to read. Journal 72, Saturday, March 9th, 2024. Looking back in greatness. Okayness. Hi, everyone. Some people do crossword puzzles to keep their minds sharp. Other people do Sudoku or cocaine, but I do something different. There's a question I'm occasionally asked. There are two different versions of it. Both seem to serve as a sort of social tick, a compulsion we have to establish familiarity with our peers. Do we have something in common, you and me? Oh, let's share our stories about it with each other to confirm that we are friends and allies. Here are the two versions of the question. What is your preferred drink? And do you drink? Those who ask the latter know enough to not make assumptions, and the former always default to the latter once the assumption is breached. Either that, or, and I don't get this very often, come on, it'll be on me. No, it's not that. I can afford it. I just. And then I come up with a story I've never told before. I have yet to give the same response twice. It's a challenge. Sometimes I have to dig deep, and the act of digging keeps me sharp. So that's what I do in the place of cocaine and Sudoku. But the response I thought of most recently was a bumbling celebration of immaturity. And that felt like the right cap on the experiment. Like after all these attempts, I finally solved the riddle. So allow me to gather up all my greatest hits, smooth out some of the bumbles, and produce my triumphant album, Looking Back in Greatness. What question have I selected to open my opus? What is your preferred drink? I can name drinks because I've enjoyed a lot of them, and it's easy to rank personal enjoyment, which has nothing to do with taste. No one can rank that. But how much I enjoyed a moment personally, emotionally, that's the easiest thing in the world for me to rank. Because if I'm the only judge, subjectivity is objective. So do you want me to rank those moments in my life and then report some spurious correlations with a specific brand of ethanol? Would you like to hear an ordered list of my favorite mass-marketed consumable goods that pretend to explain the variance of joy in every occasion? I could easily answer that question, but let's dig a little deeper and talk about why I don't drink anymore. When was the last time you walked the beer aisle? Half of them have names like Purple Monkey Dishwasher, Tactical Nuclear Penguin, or Yellow Snow IPA. Those and Space Station Middle Finger are all real. It's like they're trying to compete in unappetizing absurdity. And the trophy goes to Vinegar Bum Piss IPA. That one's not real, but you know it's coming. When I get through the beer aisle and find myself in some other part of the store, I don't see that naming convention replicated in any other comestible. No one is competing to have the most revolting or menacing name. you browse the ice cream aisle, for example, you don't see half the tubs named engine grease gelato and brontosaurus pus sorbet or frozen butt fudge. That tells me the average beer drinker is less mature than the average ice cream eater. Neither choice is particularly good for body composition, but at least one of them doesn't end in a hangover. That's the kind of immaturity that would ruin my writing. How can I expect to look back on greatness if my head hurts too much to open my eyes? So I meet my immaturity quota in other ways, but I understand the appeal of meeting it with beer. That's vastly better than not being immature at all, because without immaturity, there's no creativity. Everything must be a matter of fact or responsibility. And without creativity, there is no art. There's no story for the sake of story. And without story, there is no me. Nah, that's too dramatic and cheesy. Without story, we would lack the means to successfully escape the anguish of our monotony. No, that one isn't pithy enough. Without story, woe is all humanity. There, that's the line I'm keeping. And you can drink to that. The next round is on me. Wait, I take it back. I can't afford that, but it's okay because I already told you my chummy story to confirm that we are friends and allies. Although I'm not sure if it made any sense, I'm performing this whole opus on THC, which has names that are nearly as bad as beer, e.g., green crack, but it does something that beer doesn't. Even if tomorrow is worse than today, I know I'll be able to look back in okayness, which means I can stop looking forward in fear. In the Name of the Wind, Patrick Rothfuss wrote, "The day we fret about the future is the day we leave our childhood behind." Let's call this Patrick's Law of Second Pubescence. At some point in life, thoughts of self-preservation and have I done enough occupy the bulk of our attention. So if there's one quality of the drinking class I am truly envious of, is that they haven't yet learned that tomorrow is inevitable. They're not fretting about the coming migraine or the lost productivity or the wasted life. In other words, they're still awaiting puberty's second act. And I think the interpuberty period, the IPP, is the happiest place to be. So if Vinegar Bum Piss IPA is what's keeping people young, then in all sincerity, I say drink up. And may those drinks go down smoothly. But I won't be drinking after that toast. Instead, I will be eating a pint of maggot bloodbath ice cream. Okay, that's number 72, the longest one I'll ever write. I'm like almost positive. That has to be the longest one I'll ever write. And it sounds like I'm making fun of alcohol and the drinkers who drink it, but I'm not. I mean, there's like a dozen different drinking cultures, and every single one of them has dignity. For me, though, personally, I find so much more like tender poetry in the lonely, bar drinker, pub drinker, whatever, or the gruff, homeless man with three coats in the bottle. That to me is so much more sentimental and poetic than like the fancy dinner party. But every single group, all of these people have an equal claim, equal right to drinking culture. And I will leave it at that. So Christopher Hitchens once said something like, make sure you get more out of your alcohol than it gets out of you. And so that's my hope for all of you, is that if you're among one of the drinking classes, wherever you fall, I hope that your quota or your ratio or whatever benefits you as opposed to the alcohol. That's my hope for you. And I'll see you next time in the shortest journal I'll ever write. Bye, everybody.